doing their SOS program, suicide prevention for teens. So that's exciting, and we're hoping to have 12 to 15 teens coming. So when that happens, and then we have one set up for July and for August. So one's on 7/27, the other one's on August 10th. So that's exciting. So that's my update.
We're going to be really fast today.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for my
story. All right, no problem. Do you have anything that you want to say from end of school year, or anything?
Nothing really. Just you're going to cover the take back and all that stuff. So we can hit that.
Okay.
Later.
All right.
I mean, the year was pretty smooth.
Good.
So.
That's good. Any other updates from anyone else? No? All right. We'll just keep moving along. You're up, please.
All right, so I first will talk about prom cards. So our second year of prom cards at Chatham was in the beginning of June, and then we also did our first year at Madison High School with the prom cards. So I think that was successful. I was a senior, so I got to firsthand see the cards. Chatham did a nice little setup with that, and I think hopefully that was something that kids responded to and got even a little bit of knowledge out of. So I think that was good. And then we also did fatal vision goggles at Chatham High School for Mental Health Awareness Month. And that ended up being very successful. We had a ton of people come in, which I was a senior and I was not expecting the turnout. I was actually kind of nervous about it, potentially having low attendance, but we ended up having a lot of people. So that was interesting to be able to see people responding to that and doing some like different activities with that. We had a lot of kids trying to throw a ball back and forth, which they weren't very successful at. So that was good. And we also got to give out some information about the coalition, which was good. And that brings me into recruitment. We have, I believe, like 5 new members, which we've gotten through tabling one person coming from the fatal vision goggles. And then also some different connections throughout the coalition, bringing us some people. So that was good. And we actually had a meeting where a few of those new people came to a meeting. That was 2 weeks ago. So that was good, just to have them be introduced, them to be introduced to the coalition and the teen task force. And it also was our last meeting with our seniors, which was sad, but it gave everybody an opportunity, the seniors and current teen task force members, to talk to potential new members and give them an idea of what to expect. And that just pretty much brings us to next year. Normally we take a break over the summer, so we have some planning to do as to how we're going to handle that with the new members coming in at the end of the school year. So working on that and how we're going to build that relationship with them. So
with the new members that we've spoken, or prospective members that we've spoken to, I think that the partnership that we established with the library really has proven fruitful so far. We've also learned 3 of the members, 2 of which, thanks to Sue for reaching out. We had 2 members that are part of Morgan's Message at Madison High School, which I didn't even know it existed, but it's a fairly well-known club that focuses on mental health for student athletes. So there is a chapter at Madison High School, and they are both affiliated with that. So they held an event that Christine was a speaker for in May. And Sue saw it, put me in contact with these 2 girls, and they're 2 of our, hopefully 2 of our new members. And then somebody else, Arian, is a member. He's actually the president of a similar club at Chatham High School called Mending Minds. So they focus on mental health. You know, I mean, they run events, right?
Yeah, they've done like yoga, like events, like pretty much just like stress, like
mindfulness,
mindfulness stuff.
Yeah, so I think what we're learning is that these groups do already exist. There's also a STAD group, Students Against Destructive Decisions, at Chatham High School. I don't know, is there one? Do you know if there's one at Madison High School? No. So there are these groups that already exist. So it's interesting that we're seeing potential members for the Teen Task Force coming from those groups, and really focusing for us as a Teen Task Force to really focus on mental health as well, and not just the substance use piece, that really might be an in for us. And I think it also just would allow the Teen Task Force to partner on different events and different initiatives, and really have more access. Not that we don't, we have great access, great relationships with both schools right now, but just kind of, continue to open that door for us. We also had a rising freshman from a rising ninth grader from Chatham volunteered at our Fishwack table, who was given the information to volunteer, again, because of that relationship with the library. They shared that we were looking for volunteers, and she is very interested as well. So it'll be great to have somebody that's a ninth grader instead of an 11th or 12th grader. So
some brain.
yes, exactly. So we're excited about that as well. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about and kind of focusing on for the next few weeks is we're sort of in this transition right now. Our school year is over. We don't, like Lee said, we don't typically meet during the summer, but we have these people that are interested right now. So what can we do to bridge that gap between now and the beginning of the school year, and really start doing some planning while we still do have Elise and we have Leah here as well. So we're excited about that. And like Lee said, the prom cards, Heather, the SAC from Chatham High School, and Diana from Madison High School sent me pictures, which if you go to our social media, you'll see those pictures we posted on Instagram, just of how the cards were laid out. They looked really nice. They did a great job. We actually are working with a new vendor, Chatham Print and Design, who the Y has used Chatham Print and Design for a long time, but it's nice to be working with a local vendor. They were able to get us those cards very quickly, since we do kind of have a lot of random jobs that we're looking to get printed pretty quickly. So excited about that as well. But the cards looked nice where they were, and Diana and I spoke after prom, and she was saying that kids were actually picking up the cards and kind of looking through them. So it's good to be able to get information across that way. I'll just go into a couple other updates, just upcoming events. Like Christine said, we have our Teen Topics coming up, and then we have National Night Out is coming up in August. I think is it August 1st? It's usually the first Tuesday.
First Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's first.
So I spoke with Brian Colatrella from Chatham Borough PD at Fishwack a couple weeks ago. So we'll definitely be at Chatham Borough's Fishwack, and then most likely Madison as well. And then RJ, hopefully we can be at Chatham Township as well. And we'll talk about what our giveaway will be for those tables. But it's always a great opportunity to just be out in the community, be with law enforcement, be with the other agencies that are there for that. It's always just a fun night. So Christine and I most likely will share a table, right? PCP, MCC. So we'll do that again this year. For the giveaways at Fishwack, people seem to take the coloring sheets.
Yeah, they really liked those.
Yeah, and we actually saw a lot of adults taking the coloring sheets as well. The coloring sheet has the mindfulness and breathing techniques on the right-hand side, and then a mandala design. So we also had the coloring pencils that went along with it. Yeah, we had adults, we had kids, everyone kind of taking those. So we'll probably do that again for National Night Out, go through the rest of what we have, and then reorder something new for Battle Hill Day in October. So excited about that event. Also, Teen Topics, it looks like we're just going to keep going, right? We're just going to keep going right through.
Get a speaker every month, and we're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's one of the projects that Elise and Leah are working on right now, is kind of sourcing some new speakers and new agencies and things like that. So we'll be talking about that in a meeting later today to see what they've come up with. But there's no reason to stop. We have the space. We've been lucky to be able to find speakers that want to participate. So we'll just keep going for the fall, through the fall. Fishwack was a great success. I think we we were able to give a lot of information out. We had our jar where we encouraged people to guess how many jelly beans were in the jar. I think we collected over 100 email addresses, which is great. We have to kind of start going through those email addresses and see what's what we can read and who are I feel like the first like 15 kids.
over 10.
Yeah. So we'll start going through those. We actually started a couple for different reasons. So we'll start adding those to our mailing list. But otherwise, it was a great opportunity to talk to law enforcement that was there, other agencies as well. So we love Fishwack. The podcast is live. We posted the podcast a few weeks ago, right before Memorial Day. We have a good number. I haven't looked recently at how many downloads, but we have a good number of downloads. I've had a couple of people reach out and say that they really like the content. The Teen Task Force just did such a great job, and it really didn't require all that much editing. It's about 50 minutes long, somewhere in there. And it's just, if you have high school students, if you know parents that are starting this college application process, it's just a really good listen. They cover so much content about the college application process. So we're happy to have it finally out there for people to be able to listen to. We're also going to be sharing, we have some like behind the scenes content. We have some outtakes and excerpts and things like that we're going to be posting on social media in the next week or so. So just look out for that as well. We are just coming into our fourth quarter for the grant year. So the CADCA conference that's held twice a year, where coalitions from all over the country attend different sessions, technical assistance, things like that. That conference is in 3 weeks. It's in Dallas this year. So that's always a great opportunity for me to go and just, hear from other people that are doing this work all over the country. So at the conference in February, there were over 3,000 people that attended. So the summer one's a little bit lower attendance, but it's still really great sessions, opportunities to network and things like that. So for the August meeting, most likely I'll kind of give an overview of what the key takeaways were and kind of what the trends are that coalitions are focusing on. I know that at Push, we've been getting a lot of updates from our project officers about xylazine, and different things like that. Still, a lot about fentanyl and things. So I'll share kind of what the takeaways are, like I said, at that August meeting. As we move into the fourth quarter, the summer is usually obviously we don't have schools in attendance, or in session, but I typically use that time to do a lot of planning. I know Christine and I are planning to meet with some different key stakeholders to start planning for the fall, so that when fall comes and school is back in session, we're able to just kind of hit the ground running and not wait and then start planning. So I typically use the summer for that purpose.
We'll do that in July, right?
Yeah, July, so that in August we're able to start moving forward. What else? The Take Back the Vape event. So and Leah, you can chime in. Leah was with us. So I think it was a successful event. We did not collect any vapes, but we gave out we counted over 300 pieces of literature were handed out to students. They in no way seemed hesitant, I don't think.
Yeah, no, they were very willing to. Well, I kind of was just like, oh, can I hand you this?
Yeah, she was very and it wasn't like thrust in their face.
Right. Right. So it was kind of more welcoming, I feel like, with that, instead of having them have to grab it on their own, which I feel like kids are more nervous to take that initiative. It was, I feel like, more effective just asking to hand it to them, because then they're just like, oh yeah, sure. They might not even know what's on it at first, but once they grab it, it's even if it's not going to help them, you would hope that it keeps spreading to like friends and like friends of friends. And so we found it very successful. Yeah.
We gave out candy. But like Leah said, they would take the candy, and as they were taking the candy, she would just, can I give you this too? And they worked. I mean, they took it.
Yeah,
Right? And you were also very helpful in kind of directing people to the table. Yes, we also, yeah, we were kind of off to the side.
It's very important.
And then we were moved right to the center as students were walking in. So, and that was part of day of service as well. So we had kids stop by the table at the end of the day also. But it was great. I mean, we had Ken Shannon and Jerry Mantone, and they were not, kids were not intimidated. Obviously they were in plain clothes, but it didn't, we had the box right in front of the table, but I think the biggest win is just being able to get the information out and to be able to have the school allow us to be there. I think that's the win. So we're thankful to everyone that helped support that. And hopefully we'll be able to do it again in the fall. So that's that. Anybody have any questions or anything else that you want to talk about in terms of coalition updates before we move on to draw the line? Anything I missed?
Did you talk about, we gave away graduation bags. Did you already talk about that at the last?
Did we talk about that at the last meeting? I think we mentioned it.
Like around the same time.
Yeah, so we did, yes, but we gave the graduation bags to Madison High School seniors at day of service. They had an assembly with the principal, and then our bags were handed out to them as they were leaving the assembly. So we included information from Project Community Pride and the coalition, information about the suicide prevention outline and binge drinking, things like that. So those were all given out. And then Chatham's we gave out at the beginning of May when students, you got it when you got your?
We got it whenever we got our graduation signs, but they put the like CHS alumni t-shirt in it, which I think is good. I think like honestly, the thing with the graduation bags, it might not be like effective for every single student, but like I think the idea of giving them something to take home to like digest on their own is probably effective for like, even if it's a small amount of students, it gives them the ability to look over the information if they need it in like a private setting. Mm-hmm. So sometimes like a lot of the stuff we do, it's like in the setting of a school, like everyone's there, but I think it's like very effective. Number one, because the t-shirts were in there, but also because people can like look at it on their own time, like privately, if they think they need it.
Yeah, and like we've talked about doing, we work with the PTO for those bags, and we're basically supporting what they're doing. I mean, they're doing the signs, they're doing those things, but they had reached out earlier in the school year and asked if we could switch it up this year and do something other than the graduation, the bags. And my answer was no, because the bags are the vehicle for the information that we're getting out. There's no other reason for us to participate in that initiative unless we can get our information out. So we had talked a little bit, very short amount of time, about potentially doing a QR code or something that would have the information that way instead. But honestly, it's just an additional step. Like who's going to take their phone,
right?
I also feel like the QR code is like easier to like lose because me personally, when I like scan something, if I look something up the next day, I'm not going to have the same link or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw people using the bags too. For the last few days of school, whenever kids switch out of their backpack, that's like bag was in that building.
Yeah, and they do. And the PTO said too. They said, nobody uses the bags. But we find that they actually do use the bags. Like I see people here, kids checking in. And some are with the bags, so somebody's using those bags. It might be their younger siblings that when they go to school, then they use them. But the bags are like $1.29 per unit, so it's a very little cost to us. I mean, they were talking about doing things like insulated mugs, and it's a little above our price range. So we will stick with the bags because they're effective, and like I said, they're the vehicle for the information that we're trying to get across. So it's been nice to have a like boots on the ground this year, kind of to see how everything actually plays out. We only get it from the outside, but to have somebody on the inside was great this year. So, and we hopefully will have it next year as well at Madison and Chatham. So, okay.
Do you want to
Draw the line, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me share that. So just give me a second, but if you want to start, I will.
Yeah, so basically, we've been working on a campaign that is called Draw the Line, and it's supposed to kind of be like a metaphor to when parents, most children get alcohol within the home, whether the parents are aware of it or not, and then it was almost supposed to be a metaphor to like a parent drawing a line on the bottle so then they can know if it would, like if a child, if the teen had taken some of the alcohol or not. And it's supposed to just be kind of this campaign to be a conversation starter for parents to kind of talk to their teens and like what to say and how to kind of resonate with them. So on, yeah, no worries. So kind of
start at the back.
Yeah, on the back sheet, we have this pretty much all mapped out. And it's supposed to be the tips and tricks on the top. And then we have some of the conversation starters that we pulled from other rack cards on the bottom. And we would like some input actually on this red tip. It says, prepare yourselves, there are no shocks. You only get one shot to respond appropriately. Think through possible scenarios and how you would react. So we didn't know if you only get one shot sounds a little negative or not. But we're trying to kind of say like, just react appropriately, like, because you want your child to kind of like put that trust in you and feel comfortable to go to you. So I don't know if everyone would.
What about if you say keep working towards reacting more appropriately? Because
Yeah.
I know I blew the first shot many times.
I was just thinking that a few years to get there, but
Right.
Or start the conversation yourself.
Yeah.
Like start it so that I think that like avoiding the shock is really the point.
Yeah.
It's really the
It's
point because
Yeah.
you don't want to react, you want to respond. So
Yeah,
if you're starting the conversation yourself and you imagine what you might say, then you have that minute to take a break and just be like, okay, what did I think about what was I thinking? I was expecting this.
Mm-hmm.
And really be able to listen also.
Exactly.
To
Yeah.
what they have to say.
Yeah, listen isn't really on here.
I feel like.
Well, and I'm also thinking if you blow it, I tend to do the next day. You know what? I kind of reacted harshly.
Right.
Let's revisit that.
Right.
And then you can have a better conversation.
Right, right.
You know, they're a day later also.
Yeah, I feel like we don't want to say is like
Avoid like, I feel like because like obviously that's very common having like an initial, that's why I think we were trying to go with the no shock, because if you're just kind of like, oh, let's revisit this conversation tomorrow and put it off, it might make the child feel like they shouldn't talk about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think.
when I was thinking about it, I was thinking like, just because I tend to like I tend to like think about potential outcomes. And so like, I think I was thinking as a parent in your mind, think about like what could happen. Like you get a call at midnight to pick up your kid and you smell alcohol, or you get a call from a parent and the parent is telling you that they're hosting a party and there's going to be alcohol served. Like, what are the possible things that could happen? And like prepare yourself in that moment so that you're not reacting in the other moment. But I don't want it to be like, you only get one shot, and then once that one shot is done, it's over. Like, that doesn't matter.
I agree. You don't want that to be the message.
I do like how you said, like, don't react, respond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or prepare, be
Yeah.
present and listen.
Yeah.
You know.
What if you flip it and make the second sentence is really what Alex was talking about, make that first?
Mhm.
And then the next comment about
Mhm.
like, whatever, continue working on.
Yeah.
Think through or listen to whatever those pieces. Maybe
So think through possible scenarios.
think through possible scenarios and how you would react, like as your first thing, and then respond,
Listen.
continue, listen and
Mhm.
try to respond, whatever you added, I wouldn't listen to it. Creating the words from what you said.
Yeah. And I mean, we could take one of these away also and just have it more be about listening, like, I think like have the focus really be like learn more about why they're doing the things that they're doing, or why they might potentially be in a situation that could be risky. So really like to have the advice or the tip just like be more about being an active listener
Mhm.
Okay.
as opposed to
Yeah.
being.
So I feel like that could kind of go in the blue part, to take an active interest. I feel like just kind of involve yourself, so I just feel like the whole thing should be to make them feel comfortable to come to you rather than uncomfortable. So it's like, yes, being an active listener is important, but like it's the way that you're handling the information coming into, like, so I think,
So open,
yeah, be open, yeah.
listen,
Mhm,
learn type of what's going on.
mhm.
And you could maybe on that idea, move the blue one up and then put the orange one after.
Mhm.
Because first you're listening and taking an interest, and then you're.
Mhm.
First of all, who doesn't love these cards?
I know. It's like, I don't know, read this card.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because the react is also like feeling pressure to make a decision. Okay, now know this for a year and, and then, oh, you know what, that's too much. So you don't really have to lay anything down immediately. If you can give yourself a minute to hear what they have to say and like how did you feel about that? Like, did you draw any of your own conclusions? Do you already decide not to do it again? They're like teenagers are, capable of making decisions and learning consequences and learning on their own. It's really more powerful.
So I think changing the order a little bit, and then that, yeah, I think what everyone's saying about that third one, I think that makes sense. I like moving the first sentence, the second sentence to the beginning, and even changing that bold to like just be more about preparation and taking like the shock piece out of it. We could mess around with that a little bit too. So with the when you were like pulling these, like doing the research on the back end of this card, there was like 10 or 12 like tips that you found, right?
Mhm. Yeah, they were all on the NIH.
NIH website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting because some of the tips were similar to what we already have on our MCC Conversation Starters rack card. And then I was looking at that Conversation Starters rack card, and those are more tips than they are conversation starters. So when we wanted to have tips, and then we also wanted to have a conversation starters portion. And I really wanted this to be more like, okay, for the parent that is really struggling with like, what words do I actually say? How do I verbalize this conversation? Like, how do I start this conversation? I wanted to make this piece more about like, okay, what are the opportunities for talking? So this is kind of like what we came up with, but it did pull from the tips also. And we also, some of this comes from the Night of Conversation podcast from a few years ago, where we asked everyone that we interviewed, like, what's your one piece of advice for a parent that's never had this conversation with their kids before? And somebody, I think it was Vanessa Morgenthaler, who was the SAC at Madison High School, said something like, like, even if you're driving the car and like a song comes on and there's a reference to like, I forget which, it was like a reference to like a drug deal or like I don't know, something like that. Capitalize on that and just like ask them what they think that means. Like, even if you know what it is, have that be like an opening for a conversation. So that, I thought that was really good. So I wanted to include that, but these other ones are just kind of like ways to just have that conversation, or opportunities to have that conversation. And then we also included different resources that Leah pulled from NIH and the first one, NIH Parents Rules About Underage Drinking. You found that's such a good, it's actually a study that was done, and it's very relevant for us here in Madison and Chatham because the study focuses on prevalence of binge drinking in youth and how parent perception kind of drives that. So that's everyone, I should share this link at the end of this meeting. And it basically, like, it's like the whole point of this campaign is like how a parent, like how they, what behaviors they're modeling has a direct impact on how, on how kids perceive it and how, what behaviors they partake in when it comes to consuming alcohol. So it's a really, really good study. So,
also, I don't know if this is a place to include a link or, but Daniel Heyman, the psychiatrist who studies the brain, he has a lot of like social media that talks about the effects of the increased and long-term effects of eating a little bit of alcohol.
mm-hmm.
That would make anybody kind of think, what does like the weight matter in your brain and,
Mm-hmm.
and how you, especially what the outcomes is related to ACEs of other issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's worth suggesting that someone look at as a teenager. Okay, you want to do this? Like, take a look at this and at least have all the information.
I like that for the parent angle, like because I keep trying to think about what we're going to do, like more educate parents. And I think both those things are good. Like if I'm in the basement, playing beer pong all the time, I'm setting that example. And then also, what do I think of what these things are doing to their brains? I don't think people necessarily feel that enough.
Yeah. We also could add something here, like next to the resources, just like a quick little statement about, like, obviously people know that these are resources, but I don't want them to just look at the list and think like, oh, okay, like if I want more information, I can just go here. Like nobody actually does that, but to add something that says, like, I don't know, something about like what you're both saying, like for more, for more information on how to like navigate,
Learn more about how your decisions affect your
exactly, like something like a more pointed,
Could
thing.
we do like a small QR code for that?
We certainly
Because I
could.
feel like that's easier than typing in the link by hand.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
Okay. So the back is, I feel, we'll make these quick changes to the back, but I feel good about that. So the front, I was texting with Leah last night. It's like, I have the biggest case of like writer's block, or not writer's block, but just like creativity block with this. And I really like these boxes, which obviously are not these I pulled from, don't read the text, I pulled from our end of year infographic, but like, we were thinking that the front was going to be more of like, okay, what's the campaign? Why is it important? How do you actually do this? Like instructions on how to do it. But when Leah was sharing the information that she found, there's like really good language that I think you came up with, and then also like that you found in one of those studies that talks about the parent's role, like the role that the parent plays in all of this. And we're able to then directly link it to why this campaign, like why parents should be doing something like this. So, and again, we've talked about this before, just more information about the campaign. When we were pulling the ideas for this campaign together, and we had a small committee meeting, somebody said like, okay, kids are going to like use rubbing alcohol, they're going to move the line, they're going to draw a line like lower on the bottle, they're going to pour water in to make up the difference in the vodka that they take out. So, and like, that's not the point, obviously. That's not the point. But I'm wondering, like, I don't want to put that on there because like if a kid gets a hold of it, well, oh, that's a good idea.
Thanks for the tricks.
But
That's not the point of the campaign.
You can put
Yeah,
that
I just think if they're gonna go through that effort, then that's like a bigger issue.
well, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like,
That's
yeah, exactly, so I don't even think it's worth putting that on there. It's like I would just kind of write, like, be aware of like the line, like, obviously better wording, but just kind of keep an eye out, I guess. I wouldn't write that they could remove it, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know if this is too complicated, but when we were first talking about it, what I had heard was, if like say the alcohol is 3/4 filled and you draw the line up there, it's just very obvious to the kid. So what I was told is you turn the bottle upside down, you draw the line, and you turn it the other way.
Oh,
And then they're not even gonna notice because there's a line at the bottom of the bottle, they don't really know what it means. But then when you want to check, you turn it again and you see that it's gone below it.
That's smart.
That was the like main thing with that idea. I don't know how you convey that in a
Yeah, but
pamphlet.
I just don't know if the message really is just to educate and to people be more aware and to, it's not necessarily just catching the
I'm
kid.
not trying to outdo them.
Well,
Yeah.
right, and that's my point, like,
Maybe a deterrent for the kid, right? Okay, they are checking this, right?
yeah, and I agree, like, we don't need to put like here's what your kid's gonna do to avoid it. But, like, do we include something about we know teens can, I don't know, something about the fact that like, we know that this isn't guaranteed, yeah, but that's not the point. The point is to, let this be a conversation piece, have your kids know that it's just something that we're paying attention to.
And it could be helpful to teens to be able to use it, like, my mom, we can't drink here, my mother has like, it's almost like a way, an out for them, I think. For some kids, you're just like, parents are aware of the alcohol, sorry, but not here, type of thing.
And to share what your expectations are. I mean, if I'm buying you alcohol, my expectation is certainly not for you to not drink. It's free to drink and be part of it, right? So the people who are doing that, which I guess many of them are, if your teens don't know what your expectation is, they don't really have any sense of how to meet it or blow it off.
So if we include like what, so the what is literally what does draw the line mean? Like what is the campaign? And then the why, we include information about studies indicate, children of actively engaged parents are at reduced risk of consuming alcohol. More of the information that you pulled, Leah, from NIH, the NIH study. So like this is why we want you to participate in this exercise. So we have the what and the why, and then we include a how, and we do include, grab one of the markers from the jar at the counter here. Because remember, this rack card is going to be in a single rack card holder next to a jar of, like a plastic jar of mini Sharpies that have the logo on it. So we're literally instructing parents, take a marker. When you get home, flip your bottle upside down, indicate on the bottle the level of the alcohol. Step 3, do we want to tell parents to tell their kids? Or is it, because to your point, like, no, we don't want to like trick it. We're not trying to trick anybody. That's not the point.
I have a thought on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so from my angle, it's not tricking. It's, I'll say with my history and experience, a lot of parents are like, well, my kid's not that bad. They have a drink or two. Or, oh, it doesn't matter. It's not that much. And so as a parent, you're going, how much are they doing? And when do I need to be concerned? And so it's kind of like that if you're flipping the bottle and they don't know about it, yeah, you're doing it. You might say the parent's being sneaky. But then you might be able to say, hey, we have a big problem here. Is, because you don't know, I was always told what you see is the tip of the iceberg, which is true, because most of it's done outside of your house. So my
house, and they're going to someone else's house, it's like
right, but I feel like you want to help the parents have a tool to realize I see the tip of the iceberg, but now I know, I feel a little stronger in knowing that my particular kid has a big problem. Because you're always on that spectrum of where are they? And, you know, maybe kids are having a drink or two, but maybe you've got the one that's the life of the party, having 500 drinks. And you
I
want
think
to
it's
know
about the
that.
conversation and about it being like, I don't know. I mean, you can try to get that all on a rap card.
No, I'm just saying,
the
the reason you
conversations
do
be
the
like the back, yeah.
Well, yeah, and like step 4 is going to be like flip to the back of this card to, you know, learn more about what you can do to stay engaged as a parent.
And stay aware. I'm thinking more of the awareness, like
Right.
the awareness
So-
too. If your kid knows, if they know when they're pouring the water in to meet the line, you're both like playing games with each other, but the parent's never going to be able to know, I have a real problem here.
Right,
That's more my goal, is to help the parents know when they have a big problem.
right. So what's everyone's feeling about having a step be to like talk to your kid about it before?
I like that step, but you're not always going to have a kid who's listening or paying attention, right? Like, I think I'm focused on ones that have a bigger problem, and then you need to figure out how to
From your
help them help themselves.
Yeah.
because they're not helping.
Yeah.
Since we have 2 people that are under the age of 21, if your parents did this and let's say that they did it and then they came to you and said, hey, we did this, how would you feel about that?
I think my initial reaction would probably feel like if they came up to me before me realizing it on my own, I feel like I would feel kind of like attacked almost, because it's like, oh, they think that like, let's say that wasn't happening and I'm just like, my parents were just trying to prevent it. I feel like I would kind of be like, oh, you don't trust me, like you don't think that so I think it'd probably be, I mean, they could think that they don't trust them either way, but I think it would be better to just do it. And then if the kid realizes it and they want to voice that, then that's when they can start talking about it, or the parent could just talk about it on their own. But I think if my parents were to just come up to me and be like, hey, by the way, I drew a line here, so don't get any ideas. I'd be like, why are you assuming that I'm gonna do this? You know what I mean?
I think I would feel similarly about that, but I also, because I don't know, I would say I'm a very responsible person. Whenever my parents try and tell me stuff, I'm like, oh, you don't trust me. So I feel like I would feel like similar with that. But I also think, I guess like for me, my personality, I would probably be more upset if later on I figured out they did it and they didn't tell me, and then it was like they were trying to catch me at something. So I kind of feel like it might depend on the person, like the child.
Well, and we could, that's a great point. We also could just say, you know your kid best.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell them or don't have a conversation or don't have a conversation.
Right.
Because I think kids would respond differently depending on their personality and like also like their past habits, like what they typically.
Right.
I feel like also if you don't know what's happening, like if you're a 10th grader, let's say, whatever, how age doesn't matter, but like if you see a line on the bottle, I don't know that you necessarily think like, oh, they're marking how much alcohol is in the bottle because they're concerned that I'm taking from them. Like there could be there could be more than one reason why.
Do it for your husband.
You'd be doing it.
Well, it's not always your case, it's their friends.
Exactly.
Be their friends.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Like I think there's a lot of different things that can go through someone's head when they see it. So I like the idea of giving, like, because the back of the card, we're telling parents, like, you know your kid best.
Right.
Open
This is
conversation.
just like a tool. Here's a tool for you to use.
You
use it how you want.
You make the decision yourself, on how you want to proceed. And so aside from those things, I mean, I think that's, does anybody have anything else that we would add to the front of the card? So we kind of like, we want to make it very direct. So what, why, how?
I also have a question. So we originally were talking about adding something along the lines of like how parents are always saying that they want to help their child build a good connection with alcohol. So then let's say when they go to college, they're not just like on their own. But we found that study that kind of debunked that.
Mhm.
So are we trying to add that information, or is that just like kind of another side thing that we get out of later on?
Yeah, so this study, it is so relevant, especially here, because like when we were doing key informant interviews last year, and we talked to law enforcement, we talked to a lot of people and school student assistance counselors too, that theme was very common, that like parents want to prepare their kids so that they don't go to school and everything, like they let loose at school and then there are problems. And this study is basically just totally debunking that theory and showing what the lasting impact can be. So I feel like if we can find, if there's an appropriate spot, it's going to be in the why, in the why of the campaign. I don't know, and we can discuss this, but I don't know if there's going to be another spot for it. I don't know. I feel like we make the Y box that Y box can run the entire length vertically of the card, like go all the way down the card.
Okay.
I know we talked about myth versus fact sheets. I think, so could it be a separate tool? Because I know, like, I feel like you should grab what you're saying people think. I know, not going to mention any names, people who will say, if you're in college, you're not an alcoholic. That's ridiculous. So, but those kinds of things where you could maybe just do myth versus fact. That's another card, like, so that's again, I would think of like a parent card to some degree.
Yeah. I think that we don't have a binge drinking card right now. Like if we're talking about this series of cards that we've done, like the edibles, Delta 8, binge drinking is kind of the next one on the list. So we could kind of have that be more of like a myth versus fact style.
Or a social media campaign too.
Yeah.
Or even make it not substance specific. So like it's myth versus fact and you're throwing multiple things out, like about marijuana and about alcohol and about
and
like
the
myth substance specific.
The myth versus facts really could focus on like the parent piece of all of this too, like the parent perception.
Yeah, perception. Right.
And how, like that study, like how they're how they model, what impact that has on kids. Like that could just be its own.
Yeah, that was a big thing in there too. It's like, even if you're not providing something for your child and you think that they're not getting it elsewhere, when they, like, you are a role model to them. So it's like, don't come home drunk every second, like, because then they're going to start thinking like that's okay. And like, that's how that behavior is acceptable. So you want to just like, even if you know that they're not drinking at the moment, you still have to model the behavior that you would want them to show when they start drinking.
Yeah, and we do include it
on the back,
right?
The design looks great. I really like it.
Yeah. Very nice.
So, okay, so this card will be done by the end of this week. I feel good about it now. And really like that front piece, the what, why, literally that was like right before this meeting started that I finally was able to grasp what the design of the front would look like. But the next step, so at Fishwack, I spoke with Brian Colatrella from Chatham Borough PD about just kind of caught him up because he hasn't been to a meeting in a little while about this campaign. He, right off the bat, suggested Cottage Deli would be the place to launch this in the borough. He offered to go in with me. So we're, and we said timeline wise, we were hoping for about weekend before 4th of July. So that's coming up in 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So that's Chatham Borough. At Bagels and Brainstorming, we talked potentially about by the bowling alley, right?
Staples, yeah.
He'd say by Staples.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, the bowling alley? It's close, right?
No,
The place on the line,
Oh, no.
Village
I'm not sure. It's
Village Liquors, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah, he does a lot for the community and stuff.
Yes.
What's the name of it?
yeah. And Kenny said he thought that would be the better spot also. We want to go to a place that only has one checkout. So Gary's is out and the other two, I don't think get as much traffic as he does. He gets a lot. And there's the one. And then Chatham Township, I was thinking the guy at Hickory Wine Cellars, he's every time we go in, he wants to participate. Yes. Oh, that's, that's right near your, So, no.
By ACE, right?
Oh, no, the
across
other
street.
side.
The one,
Hickory Wine, so USA Wine Traders is by ACE. Hickory Wine Cellars is on the other side.
with like Stop and Shop or ShopRite or what.
ShopRite,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's next to Blossom.
That's a shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were on the other side.
No.
Oh, there's an ACE and then there's like a paint store.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right in
Yeah,
between
yeah,
the paint
yeah.
store and the
Oh,
liquor store.
gotcha, okay.
I'm on the other side of the circle.
Local businesses. So that would be that's where we would go in the township. And RJ, I'll reach out to you. I'll send you an email with some information about this. Maybe we can chat if you have a better idea, if you think one of the two liquor stores would be better, and then hopefully we can have somebody, either you or somebody from the department could come when we make that ask as well. But really, we're not asking, we're just asking to have the jar of the Sharpies and then one little rack card holder with the information as well. We'll do a press release, and then we're planning a big social media push for it also. But that's kind of, I mean, that's the campaign. If anyone has,
I just want to jump in. The Madison is called Main Street Wine Cellars. So that's the one that we want, right next to Staples and the old bowling alley.
Oh, yeah, where Mexican Spice was for a minute.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think his name is Reach, because he does like
Yeah,
the social events. He works with the
Yeah,
parents a
he
lot for
He
the.
does a lot of
Social
social
events.
media. Like
And
I
he does
always
a lot
see him
of
on
social media.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always,
Wow.
so he can make a video or something, because I always see him on TikTok, and he's like dancing in the store.
okay.
Yeah.
Send this to myself.
And I know a few people that work there, and they're always like, oh yeah, he always wants us to make social media.
Well, it has, I feel like that's where college kids go.
Yeah, they do. I know a few people that work there.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to having it at like a party store, like for graduation parties? Like, is Party City even still on? I don't know if that makes any sense, just
Well,
like, yeah.
Aside from, like, if we wanted to stay in Madison and Chatham, that's the other thing that I was wondering about also, like, aside from liquor stores, are there any other businesses or places that we should be trying to get this campaign? Like, I mean, my initial thought was Allison Adams, only because like when we met initially, like we talked about ways that her practice could be involved in this, and because, you know, she has said at meetings before that she talks a lot to adolescent patients, and her hygienists talk a lot to adolescent patients. But I don't know, like I feel like 3 liquor stores and then a dental practice, like I don't know, like it needs to be a little bit more. But I don't know, I'm putting that out there. Does anyone have any other ideas for potential locations to include, or do we really just want to make this just the liquor stores to start off?
My opinion is it's like a pilot, and we stick to those 3 right now. And then we see how.
Roll out.
Yeah, then we roll, this is like the rollout.
Yeah.
Right, and then we decide like, what feedback did we get, you know, blah, 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 and then it's just a thought.
Yeah.
It's a great plan, I think, for 3 towns.
All right. That's what's happening. That's kind of our focus. And then we will circle back to our larger parent campaign after this gets launched. So, yeah, we're Chatham, we had Chatham's survey data. We sent that over to Epiphany, so we'll get that survey report in the next couple of months. Madison, we're hopeful that we'll be able to survey in the fall with the new superintendent, new assistant superintendent. So we will, we're hopeful about that. But we have Chatham's data already. So, you know, we do want Madison's data as well, because we serve both Madison and Chatham. But in terms of compliance, we have Chatham's, and that's what we need. We don't actually need to report it again until next year. So that's kind of where we are with that. Does anybody have anything else that they have or want to add, or any questions or anything before we wrap up? Our next meeting is July 27th, 9:30 here. We'll see about a potential speaker, but the July and August meetings are usually kind of low attendance. So my goal is to start speakers again in September. And if anyone has anything that they're looking for in terms of speaker or topics or things like that, like I said at the CAGA conference in July, I'll kind of get a feel for what other coalitions are focusing on. And we'll talk about that at the end of July.
July 27th is a Thursday.
Well, then it's not July 27th.
July 25th.
July 25th. Thanks, Christine. And I'll keep everyone updated on Draw the Line, and you'll, make sure that I'll keep everyone informed in the newsletter, but also just make sure that you're following us on social media. And yeah, I think that's it. If anyone doesn't have anything else, we're good. Okay. All right, thank you.
See everyone next month.
The recording.
So things slow down for you now for the couple
Yeah,
months?
we do some other stuff there. So